Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. Now, if you like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in Major League Baseball, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Tuesday in Major League Baseball. First up, we got the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Cleveland Guardians. We got Logan Allen and Quinn Priester as the starters. Obviously not in love with the start we saw from Allen his last time out against the Nationals. 4 innings, 4 walks. It was 7 base hits and 3 runs. He was honestly fortunate to just give up those 3 runs. And actually, because that was the case, the Guardians were able to rally and win that game in the end, 8-6. But definitely one of the weaker starts of the season from Allen. The thing is, though, I don't love Quinn Priester on the other side. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game, but I do expect the home team to win it. I'm going to take Cleveland on the money line. I've mentioned I do think the Brewers are a lot better than their current record. But when you look at Logan Allen, a lefty facing a Brewers team has just not been great against left-handed pitching this season and really overall the last few years. I think that the Guardians could do enough damage against Quinn Priester and win this game at home. So give me the Guardians on the money line. Next up, we got the Minnesota Twins taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Simeon Woods Richardson and Kate Povich are the starters. I do lean towards the full game over, but I also really like the Orioles team total over in the first 5 innings. I think that Simeon Woods Richardson was really fortunate to only give up the 2 runs that he gave up in those 4 2/3 in that last start against these Orioles on May 7th. And we know it's tough to face the same lineup twice in the same week, especially. That's why I think Povich could struggle against the Twins. But Woods Richardson only 1 strikeout in those 4 2/3. The Orioles are much better against righties than lefties. I think that he's in trouble in this game, and overall, when you look at his numbers, the expected numbers and the underlying numbers are just not great. So I think the Orioles get on the board early and often, especially in front of the home crowd in Camden Yards. I think it's going to be a tough day for Woods Richardson, so give me the over team total for the Orioles in the first 5 innings. Next up, we got the Boston Red Sox taking on the Detroit Tigers. We've got Kiter Montero and Brian Bayo as the projected starters. Now, I don't think Bayo is going to be perfect in this game, and he really wasn't in his last start against the Rangers. 4 2/3, only 1 strikeout with 5 walks to go with it, and it's one of the big reasons we see his ERA at 2.01, but his expected ERA is in the 5s, the xFIP at 4.72. There are some big-time regression concerns in his game, but the Red Sox have won all 4 of his first 4 starts this year since his season debut on April 22nd, and I think he gets a lot of run support in this game. I don't think Bayo pitches too well, but I think he gets the run support from the Red Sox against Kiter Montero. Another option on the other side I really don't love for Detroit. I trust this Red Sox bullpen. I'm going to roll with the Red Sox on the money line. I lean towards the over as well at Comerica. Next up, we got the Chicago White Sox taking on the Cincinnati Reds, the first game of this series. We got Jonathan Cannon and Andrew Abbott as the starters. Abbott's in great form right now. He's missing bats. His ERA is at 2.25 on the season, and the Reds have won 4 of his last 5 games. The only loss was the last start against the Atlanta Braves, which was 2-1 in extra innings. A close one covering the run line. So I think that Abbott can pitch well against the White Sox team. It's not been great against lefties this year. Cannon's not really in the best form recently, not missing as many bats in his last couple of starts. And while this Reds offense has been one of the more inconsistent ones we've seen this season, we've seen them, go on a big-time shutout streak, and then we saw him score 10 runs in the first inning the other day against Lance McCullers. It's tough to know what you're going to get from Cincinnati, but at Great American, I think their offense shows up enough to cover this run line. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs with the Reds. Next up, we got the St. Louis Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies. Sonny Gray and Jesus Luzardo are the projected starters. Great pitching matchup, in my opinion. I mean, Sonny Gray, nice bounce-back start for him in his last game. He's got great numbers against this current Phillies lineup. It's impressive when you see 163 plate appearances, so a pretty healthy sample size, a 28% strikeout rate, and a 265 xWOBA. He's just got great numbers against this current Phillies lineup. And Jesus Luzardo also has pitched well against the current Cardinals lineup, and just had a great start to the season in general with a sub-3 ERA. So I think we see a low-scoring game. Give me the under in Cardinals-Phillies. In our next game, we got the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Shane Baz and Jose Barrios are the projected starters. Shane Baz has not been able to figure it out at Steinbrenner Field this season. He's pitched an overwhelming majority of his innings at home, 31 1/3, and only 7 innings on the road. And in those 31 1/3 at home, ERA is 6.03, 5 home runs given up, a 270 opponent's batting average. The strikeout numbers are there, but the control's been off a little bit, missing inside and outside the zone. And we see him really struggle in his last 2 games at home against the Phillies and the Royals. But that one road start this season, it was 7 innings of shutout ball against the Padres, 6 strikeouts to go with it, and a 1-0 Rays win. We'll see if now going on the road for the second time this year, helps out Boz a little bit. I still think he's a good pitcher overall with a bright future. Just, struggling so far with that sharp contact at a very hitter-friendly ballpark like Steinbrenner Field. But I think that this is kind of a buy low spot for Boz, and the Rays have got great numbers against Jose Barrios in their past matchups. The current Rays lineup at about 75 plate appearances with a 588 expected slugging percentage, 299 expected batting average. I think Tampa Bay is going to back up Boz, and even if it isn't a perfect start, I think he gets the run support necessary to win this game, and at a great price, I'm going to take Tampa Bay on the money line on the road. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the New York Mets. We got Mitch Keller and Kodai Senga as the starters. Now, Mitch Keller's got great numbers against his current Mets lineup at about 85 plate appearances, a decent strikeout rate, but more importantly, a 268 xWOBA, a low expected batting average. I know recently he's not been, faring too well in terms of the Pirates losing his last 5 starts, but even in those 5 games, 3 of those 5 were quality starts on paper. He had 6 strikeouts his last start against St. Louis. I think he could put together a quality start in this game, probably 6 innings, 3 runs, around that kind of range. And I think the Pirates really struggle against Kodai Senga, who's been one of the better pitchers in the National League. So give me the under here in Pittsburgh, New York. The price for me on the Mets is just too steep. I think I would lean towards New York, but for me, there's just no value there. So I'm going to take the under in the Mets Pirates. Next up, we've got the Washington Nationals taking on the Atlanta Braves. We got Mike Soroka and Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound in this one. Now, Mike Soroka's last start it's a really great example of how looking at game logs and box scores without any kind of context and without, kind of going through see how the game actually played out can be very misleading when you're handicapping and when you're researching pitchers, because on the surface, you look at Mike Soroka's game against Cleveland last time out, it wasn't a great outing, 5 innings, 4 runs, it was an 8-6 loss. Doesn't look to be a great start, but I got to say, I watched that game. Soroka was excellent in that start. 5 innings of basically spotless baseball. His strikeout stuff was off the charts. I've never seen Soroka pitch that well. He got really unlucky. It was a tough inning in the 6th inning for him. Gave up the single to Stephen Kwan. Gave up another single, which almost hit Stephen Kwan on the foot as he was running to second base. He jumped over the baseball. If that would have hit him, whole inning would have changed. The whole game would have changed in Washington's favor, but unfortunately gets through. Then it's a hit by pitch on Jose Ramirez, a series of unfortunate events, and then the bases clearing double, the one mistake pitch that we saw from Soroka in that game. It was 3 runs right there. The bullpen comes in, they give up the stranded runner, so it looks like 4 runs on the surface. Really, it was a much better start for Soroka, and really impressive in my opinion. Now, doesn't mean he's going to be just as good in this start, but got to say the Braves lineup has not really impressed me recently. Had a pretty lackluster series in Pittsburgh and even against Cincinnati, and I think that Soroka could put together 5, maybe 6 decent innings. Schwellenbach, I've been really big fan of his game this season, but recently hasn't looked as dominant as we saw in the first couple of starts. I think the value lies here with Washington. I'd lean towards the under, but I'm going to take the Nationals plus 1.5 runs in this one. Next up, we got the Miami Marlins taking on the Chicago Cubs. We got Valente Belloso and Ben Brown as the projected starters. I know Belloso pitched really well in his last start against the Dodgers of all teams. 5 1/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, shutout baseball, but ended up still being a 10-1 Dodgers win by the end of it. It goes to show you how this Marlins bullpen has struggled, but I also just don't see Belloso pitching that well going forward. I don't think he's a great major league starting pitching option right now, and I think the Cubs, they've shown to be a great lineup against right-handed pitching in 2025. I think that Ben Brown will be good enough. He's not been great at Wrigley Field though this season. 0-3, 7.91 ERA. It makes it a tough game, in my opinion. I don't think there's a ton of value in this one, but I'm going to lean towards Chicago and lay the 1.5 runs at Wrigley Field. Next up, we got the Colorado Rockies taking on the Texas Rangers. Kyle Freeland and Jack Leiter are the starters. Kyle Freeland just does not have it right now. He's given up a lot of base runners, a lot of sharp contact, and he's also, we saw give up 4 unearned runs in that last game against the Tigers. We got to mention this Rockies. We know the Rockies have really struggled in 2025, but the defense is another thing that's really fallen off in 2025. Rockies, even though they weren't a great team in 24, they still had a pretty good defensive team. They were one of the best defensive teams in baseball. They've made a lot of mistakes in the field this year, and for a pitch-to-contact guy like Freeland, that's exactly what you don't want to hear. So I think Freeland's in trouble. I know Leiter's not been great recently, but I think he has a decent matchup here. I'm going to lean towards the Rangers. Don't love this game, though. Next up, we got the Royals and the Astros. Chris Bubic and Framber Valdez are the projected starters. You know, we originally thought Framber was going to go on Monday. He's moved to Tuesday. I still think he pitches well in this game. KC against lefties on the road since April 1st. Dead last in isolated power. Bottom 5 in team OPS. Not a great lineup against Southpaws away from Kaufman and really in general this season. And then, Chris Bubic is one of the starting pitchers that we were really high on going into 2025. He's been excellent. 1.69 ERA. But he's facing an Astros team that we've mentioned is a lot better offensively at Daikin Park than they are on the road. And even at Kauffman Stadium, when these teams met with Bubic on the mound, the Astros got to him. So, it was one of his weakest starts of the season. I got to roll with the Astros in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, the Los Angeles Angels taking on the San Diego Padres. Jose Soriano and Dylan Cease are the starters. Soriano's been really inconsistent recently. We saw a great outing for him a couple of starts back. That was at Angel Stadium against Detroit, but his last game against the Blue Jays, the control's off again, 4 walks, 8 base hits to go with it. And even when he's pitched well, like that game against Detroit, the Angels bullpen or the lineup just hasn't backed him up. 8-5, 9-1, 5-0, 9-3, and 3-1. All 5 losses by more than 1 run for the Angels with Soriano on the mound. So I just can't back the Angels in this spot with Dylan Cease improving. I think San Diego wins and covers the run line. I'm going to lay the 1.5 runs with the Padres. Next up, we've got the New York Yankees taking on the Seattle Mariners. We've got Brian Wu and Max Fried as the starters. Brian Wu, I think, is a great option in this Mariners rotation. They've won 4 of his last 5 starts, including his last game, but it wasn't his best start of the season, probably his weakest. He went 6 innings, 8 base hits, 5 runs to go with it, a home run as well. And now, we've seen the Yankees overall a strong performance from him on the West Coast offensively. I think that they can get to Wu for a couple of runs at the minimum. And then I think that Max Fried has proven to be one of the best pitchers in baseball to start 2025. Another great outing last game against the Padres. 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. Another Yankees win. They've won a ton of his outings. I got to go with the Yankees in this one on the money line and run line on the road. Next up, the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Francisco Giants. Brandon Pfaadt and Robbie Ray are the projected starters. The Giants have actually had pretty good at-bats against Brandon Pfaadt in the limited sample size, about 30 plate appearances, but a 394 xWOBA, a 615 expected slugging percentage. I think San Francisco could score a couple of runs. I don't love this offense overall, especially at Oracle Park, pitcher-friendly ballpark, but I think the Giants get on the board early. I think Robbie Ray, who's in great form right now and has great numbers against the Diamondbacks' current lineup with a 30% strikeout rate, can put together another quality outing. And I also trust this Giants bullpen a lot more than Diamondbacks. That Diamondbacks bullpen, in terms of projected WAR near the bottom of baseball, I'm going to roll with San Francisco on the money line at Oracle Park. Next up, we've got the Athletics and the Dodgers. We've got Landon Knack and Jeffrey Springs as the starters. I think we see a high-scoring game, potentially a high-scoring series. Jeffrey Springs has been inconsistent in 2025 with his new team. ERA just below 5. You're facing a Dodgers team. It's been great against lefties in 2025. I do think Springs struggles, but I also think the A's can chip in some runs early and late against Landon Knack and the Dodgers bullpen. Landon Knack has only had 1 plate appearance against any member of the A's current lineup. It was against Gio Urshela, and funny enough, it was a home run for Gio in that at-bat. But, nonetheless, Landon Knack overall, he's faced a really weak strength of schedule recently. The Marlins, the Rockies, the A's are a much better lineup than those teams, and he doesn't have the best expected numbers right now, so I think we see some runs. Give me the over in Athletics Dodgers. And that's it. Those are the games for Tuesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium, and there is a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.